Hey, this is Miss Barron, or you can call me Allie, because this video is for all the pre-service teachers who asked me how to organize a professional educator portfolio. This is my professional educator portfolio. I have my name at the top, and I should have my credentials at the end because there are letters that go after my name, and if you've worked hard enough to get those letters, you should always put them there. I have a QR code that gets to my digital portfolio, which I'll tell you more about another time. And I have my contact information. For this portfolio, I have it in a 1/2-inch plastic binder with the plastic cover thing on the front. And then I chose the Apple theme, Apple for the teacher, and I cut these out with my Cricut, and they're throughout the portfolio. In the front of my portfolio, I have my resume, and this is just your typical resume for a teacher that you've probably learned how to make in one of your college courses. Mine has a couple of pages to it because I have several years experience. And on top of it, I have a bright pink card with my contact information and my QR code so that anybody that wants to find me quickly, if I wanted to just put it on a table at a job fair, they can just scan it and find me. The next page that I have in here is just a general letter to whoever might be reading my portfolio. It talks about the purpose in this portfolio and my purpose in teaching. That is followed by my teaching philosophy. And we all know that writing your teaching philosophy is almost an entire course in most undergraduate programs. I have written mine out. I don't really know if anybody I've ever interviewed with has read my teaching philosophy. They've mostly asked questions about it. And then again, I've kept my Apple theme on this page. The next section I have is my classroom management. When I taught at one particular school, they had their own school-wide management system, part of PBIS, that we called PAWS. So I made sure that when I put my portfolio together that I explained what that was, how I used it in my own classroom, and the incentives that I used, and then I took pictures. If you are already in a classroom and you're not taking pictures, you need to make sure that you're taking pictures inside your classroom, not only of your kids, but of the things that you have on the walls and your own organization and management systems every single day, so that when you build things like this, you have plenty of materials to choose from. The next page is my classroom procedures. This is not something that every teacher is going to need in their portfolio. I have it in mind because my students rely heavily on schedules and procedures. I'm very organized. I like everybody to know where everything is, and I like to have it written down in case a parent ever says, hey, what is the procedure for getting a new pencil? I have all those things listed and highlighted here, and then I have some pictures of how I organize my classroom. The next section is my teaching style. I don't like to use desks and chairs. Right now in kindergarten, I do have tables, but I've been using a lot of flexible seating within my career, and so that means a lot of getting up and moving around. I also like to be outside, so I do a lot of my lessons outside if weather permits. So I have taken pictures of some of my kids and what they're doing, and I've made sure to include that in my portfolio. And then it's always good in your portfolio to highlight how you do your lesson plans. Your principal or the hiring committee is going to say, have you ever written a lesson plan? Do you put your lesson plans out for others to see? And my answer to that would be yes. I've written lots of lesson plans, and I do keep them in a binder, and it's hard to see in this picture, but I keep them in a binder in my classroom where as soon as you walk in, you can see what my class is doing for the day. I've included a sample lesson plan. This is the type that you write in college. This is not the type that you are going to use in your everyday teaching life. I have a page in my binder about differentiation. If you teach in a school where you have a lot of students in one class, you probably have to use differentiation as you teach. I have highlighted in here learning styles, flexible groupings, student interest, and data collection. These are all things that you need to highlight in your portfolio as well. Those are all questions that are going to be asked of you in an interview or any sort of setting at all where there's questions for the teacher. This is something that I added to my binder when I taught 3rd grade, and it's called the Center's Contract. I teach mostly in small group. I don't do a whole lot of stand in front of the group and lecture. So what I have done is I've made a contract for my 3rd grade students to be able to walk around the room at their own pace and complete each of the standards that I had for them for math. The date they visited, if they completed the task or not, and then they had to have my initials. In any portfolio that you are going to make to share with anyone out there, you need to show that you have some knowledge of assessment and data. That means that you know how to read the assessments that you have given. I talk about how I give assessments on this page. I've taken some pictures of the assessments that I use, and I also talk about how I use the data. And because I'm a veteran teacher, I have data from years before. If you are going to put data in your notebook at all, you must block out the name. Make sure you are following all the regulations that your state requires of you to keep things confidential. So the reason that I put this particular set of data in my portfolio is because it shows that 33 out of 37 of my students that school year made gains. It just pretty much is proof that I am a good teacher and that year was successful for me. So that's what that is. I also have a section on technology. If your school is not a one-to-one school or you don't have a way to use a whole lot of technology in your classroom, you may not have a section for technology in your portfolio. And then finally, I just have a peek inside my classroom. I wanted to highlight some of the things that I was proud of, some of the things that I put on the wall that I really liked doing. So this was the year that I taught 3rd grade math, and that's all I taught. I taught a rotation of students, so all that was in my classroom that year was math stuff. The following year was when I got to use more flexible seating, so I wanted to make sure that I had lots of pictures of my kids doing different things in different seating arrangements. And that's just more pictures of what we were doing. You also want to have a sample of your school's or your classroom's newsletter. That way everyone knows that you know how to put together a newsletter so that you can stay in communication with parents. And then I added just this welcome to 3rd grade questionnaire so that I could show whoever was interviewing me that I did take into consideration that I want to know more about my students and their families. The next section I have in here are my observations. If you are a brand new teacher, the only observations you're going to have are probably from your university supervisor or your hosting teacher. I have some of those in here, but these are from different people who have visited my classroom. I had someone from the ICLE come and visit me, a coach that just chose me randomly. I'm not really sure how, but he came in and watched me teach for several days and left me a nice little note every day, and so I glued it in here, and there's some others that he left me. I have an observation from when I was teaching, and my principal had glows and grows down at the bottom, and so I highlighted my glows so that whoever was looking through this could see down there that this teacher knows what she's doing. Then I have some more formal assessments that my principal has done, or just some check-ins. So I kept all of those and I glued them in. And then I, at one time, had a really nice principal who would just leave me sticky notes, and she did this for all her teachers, just checking in. And so I make sure that anytime somebody said something positive, I added it to this notebook, including every time I was nominated for Teacher of the Month. Does that really mean anything? Of course not. It's a popularity contest, but look how many times I was nominated. So that looks good in a portfolio to know that you work well in a community of learners, because the other teachers, the better they get along with you, the easier your school year will be, and it'll be easier for your principal too. More classroom feedback. And then the very last section I have in here is my certificate. My highly qualified letter. Not every state requires that. Alabama does. Then I have my nomination for Outstanding Teacher Intern from Jacksonville State University. I have a letter from the teacher that I worked with when I did my student teaching, and then I have references from other people that I worked with. And finally, what you all wanted to know, what do I do with all those certificates that I get from when I do my own self-paced learning online or when I go to a workshop? I put it at the back of this notebook. So here they are. These are the ones from Jacksonville State, when I did the Alabama Reading Initiative, when I became the medication assistant for my school, when I learned how to use Canvas, when I learned, oh, everybody has to do this one, so this is like an automatic, you get a certificate, the mandated reporters, my CPR and first aid certification, and then I was a sponsor for our Indian education program. So those are all the ones that come with certificates, and I just keep adding to them as we go. There's lots of trainings that don't have certificates that you do through your school, online, or through your university, and those you can print off online through your district or through your university. And if you don't know how to do that, you can PM me and I will help walk you through it. So these are the others that I have completed, and they're all here for whoever wants to know. I hope this video was helpful to you in creating your professional educator portfolio. If you liked this video, please like my page and subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I will be putting out more information for pre-service teachers and for veteran teachers too. And also that is where I'm going to be putting all of my activities for kids while we're quarantined and anything else I can come up with. Thanks.